Wherever you are in the world, good day, good people, good day, and welcome to Wow, Wish Only Well live television show where I am your host, SherVonne Grose, marriage and family therapist, inspirational coach, and motivational speaker. It is Wednesday, guys, a wonderful Wednesday indeed. And you know what we do on Wednesdays? We come to Wow. And by Wow, I mean to wish only well all across the world. I cannot wait to introduce you guys to my guest, my very special guest who's already backstage and is ready to come out to get the conversation started as he talk about his book and all things related to his book. So but you know how we do, guys. Before he actually come out, we have to properly introduce him. We do justice by properly introducing him. So let me tell you a little bit about my special guest who is in the studio with me today. My very special guest today is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he is also the author of this book called Overdate. So, listen, let me tell you, his name is Daniel Kinoshita. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist with special emphasis on helping couples navigate relational challenges as well as provide premarital counseling. He holds numerous degrees and is currently a doctoral student at North Central University. Born and raised in California, Daniel served in both the United States Army, thank you for your service, and the Army Reserve. He continued that dedication to service by being a chaplain for the V.W. in 2020. Daniel is a proud Japanese American with strong ties to many communities in his area. I'm sorry. Daniel decided to combine his experience with a lifelong love for creative writing. Overdate is the first book. When not working or writing, Daniel loves spending time with his wife Trisha. He's been married for over 3 decades. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna be honest. Like my contact is really acting really crazy right now. Probably should just take them out. I think I could see better without them. But anyway, guys, Daniel has been married to his wife for over 3 decades. How awesome is that? Is that not like a wow? Somebody you definitely want to listen to and to hear because he definitely have the experience, life experience. He's lived this, right? So he's been married to his wife Trish for over 3 decades, and they have a cat and dog named Flash and Teddy. Daniel has two grown children, Danielle and Mark, who are his pride and joy. If it were up to him, he'd be on a cruise ship over dating, writing his next great book. Daniel enjoys fishing and has a strong faith in God and family. If just one couple finds the passion in their relationship again, he will consider his work a success. So guys, without further ado, I am going to welcome to the Wild Wish Only Well television show, Daniel Kinoshita. Welcome, 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 Daniel. Hi,
Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for that
Daniel.
wonderful welcome. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, my contact wanted to malfunction on me. I don't know what's going on with it. So I was like seeing double as I was trying to read.
I
So probably,
gotcha.
probably, yeah, probably my luck. I probably have it flipped like the opposite way, or maybe I got my left eye and my right eye. Who actually knows the life, right? So
Right,
I am
exactly.
yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. So listen, you heard what I've said in terms of introducing you, but is there anything else specifically right off the bat that you want the audience to know about you?
Well, I'm just a normal guy who happened to follow a career that I love, being a marriage and family therapist like yourself. And first of all, I was super excited to
Yeah,
be here, Siobhan. And just the fact that you're a fellow MFT, like
yes.
there's nothing more that I love than to talk about families and family systems and how can we improve the family, how can we make the family more healthy, and how can we help couples. And I have a passion for that. I love what I do. I love life. I love being married for 31 years. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And
that's not
you're from
anything
Georgia.
to be taken lightly.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm super excited to just be here with you. And if I can, I love what you said in that last line. If I could just encourage any couple, young or even if you're 80 years old at all, by just anything that is in this book or anything that I could say, that would be a blessing to me.
Wow. It's just awesome. Awesome. Listen, I'm excited to have you here as a guest. And I just love like the intro where it talks about everything that we do, right? How we just overdo everything. So I just love like even the concept of how this even gets started. So I'm so very excited about having you here and being able to talk about your book Overdate. And so I don't even want to waste any time. I just want to get into conversation about it because people need to
Absolutely.
know, like in case they've lost that lovely feeling, they want to get their groove back like Stella, or they want to be booed up like LMA. So listen, so
That's
let's
right.
just get into
That's right.
conversation so that we can help get them on track. And then right from this conversation, hopefully they will run out and get the book because they need the book to be able to follow the instructions, right? And sometimes, when we
Mhm.
get information when it's fresh, we'll abide by it. But then a couple of weeks or a couple of months go by and we kind of slack off again. So having the book
That's right.
physically present, right, will help them to remind them of our conversation that we're going to have today and the reason why they need to make sure that they are over dating. So let's talk about that, Daniel, if you will, and kind of what led you to even come about writing this phenomenal book that you've written.
Yeah, SherVonne. Hopefully you can hear me. I think we're getting breaking up a little bit. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
I can
still?
hear you. I hear you fine. We have a delay. I see that we have a delay, but it's
Okay.
okay. I hear you fine.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. So, the whole concept behind the book is it's like I start off kind of with the tagline is people overeat, overwork, oversleep, overdrink, but they don't overdate their significant other. And I got married at quite a young age. I was 21 years old, fresh out of the army. I met my wife. She was 19. And
Yeah.
10 months later, SherVonne, we eloped and we got married in Monterey, California.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
had no idea what we're doing. Like what do you know about life and marriage at 21 and 19, right? Absolutely nothing, right? Most of us don't, right? And so we had no premarital counseling. It was just a wham bam, let's go get married, and here we are. So 2 years later, we have a little girl on the way, which is our daughter Danielle and my son Mark. And late Mark came a couple years later on, and that was all she wrote. So that's how we started off. But the main thing, SherVonne, was we plugged into this little small community church, and I talk about that in the book, where the pastors really modeled, how to have healthy relationships. And what they taught us right out the gate was you need to have a one night a week established date night. And they basically kind of said that will keep your marriage intact, or at least it will really help your marriage, and so we started our journey of our relationship rocky, like I said, because right out the gate we got married, young, 21, 19, trying to figure it out. But we started attending these marriage retreats, and once again, the main thing that we started doing was we started setting aside a date every once a week, and we would get a babysitter even for our daughter, and we just made that a priority. And as the years went on, we kept that up. Like
We got to we have a delay, guys, as Daniel is going to be rejoining us very shortly. You know how it is, technology gets sometimes. He was in the midst of telling like a really awesome story about his relationship with his wife and how everything kind of got started. And so we're going to pop off and we're going to pop Daniel back in. Welcome back, Daniel.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. It's probably on my end. It's probably on my end because I'm on a phone right now. I apologize that.
That's okay.
Anyway, so the bottom line is it started off really not understanding the nuts and bolts of marriage, but the one thing that we did have was having a date every single week, and the repetition of doing that, staying connected, was the foundation where we could add the other tools later on down the road to understand communication and obviously reciprocity and things like that that help marriages succeed. Well, a few years ago, probably like 5 years ago, we were sitting at the dinner table, and my older children, my daughter's Danielle was 29, my son's 25 now. They were probably, 27, 24, whenever that was, a few years back. We were talking about how do you have a successful marriage? How do you have a successful marriage? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thought just popped in my mind, SherVonne. It said, people need to overdate.
Oh my
I
goodness,
said,
it's
people need to
amazing.
overdate. And they're like, what? Yeah, it's just like over dinner. Just people need to overdate. I mean, if people would
Yeah.
overdate, they would just like, they overdo a lot of things, then this would really, really help them. And then so I just started extrapolating it from there. And I said, you know what? That's a great title for a book. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I just talked about writing one. And so I started working on it slowly, 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 and then just kind of putting flesh to the bones. And that's how we have it. Now we have this book, Overdate, where I've kind of taken my experience as my pastoral experience, because I was a youth pastor for over 20 years, just doing
Mhm.
counseling and things like that. And then now as a marriage and family therapist, and I put it all together in this. It's a small book. It's an easy read. It probably will take you an hour to read, with a lot
Ah.
of good information on how to keep
Mhm.
your marriage or relationship alive.
Oh, good deal. Yes, awesome. I mean, it's just amazing though, even that concept, because you're right. I think with the way the world has transformed, right? It's just, everybody is busy, 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 seem to be doing something. So, being able to set aside that time so that you can, be, maintain those lovely feelings, with your significant other,
Mm-hmm.
because, being in this field, I know that, we see couples that come in and they struggle a lot. And, it's almost, and a lot of time it's because they're growing apart, because they don't spend any time, like dating each other
Right.
and really, continuing to get to know each other and continuing to evolve together. And the biggest thing is to grow together. But a lot of times what we see, in our field, people are coming, they start to grow apart from each other, but it's because we get so caught up with building, in terms of trying to gain material stuff and just have a status,
Mm-hmm.
and working all the time, because we're trying to have a really good life, and sometimes be able to provide for our children a life that maybe we didn't have, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times we get caught up in overdoing things, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
when we overdo things like that, we tend to overlook our significant others, right? And then and
Mm-hmm.
when we overdo, we're too tired to even put forth the effort, right, that we need to make sure we're
Mm-hmm.
being intentional about giving our significant others that attention that they need, that love, and finding moments to be intimate, because that's what happened over
Mm-hmm.
time. We lose intimacy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and what you're saying is correct, because what happens with couples is they forget why they fell in love in the beginning, from
Exactly.
right out the gate, right? And they stop doing the things that they were doing for their partner that they were doing from the beginning. And my premise, my hypothesis is this: if you will begin to do the things that you did in the beginning, and
Yes.
you do them repetitiously and you do them consistently, we can cultivate what we had in the beginning,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to get old. That's why
Mhm.
the whole concept, when I talk to people all the time, it doesn't have to get old. You can enjoy, you can enjoy your partner, your marriage, well into the latter years of life.
Yes.
And my wife and I, once again, we've been married 31 years,
Wow.
and our,
Congratulations.
thank you. And we're empty nesters now. So
Oh,
now,
double congratulations.
yeah, yeah. And SherVonne, we talk to people all the time, and I'm sure you've had this conversation. And even
Mhm.
before we were therapists, we had this conversation. It's like, well, when you grow old with someone, and then your kids leave the house, it's like you look at each other and you're just kind of like twiddling your thumbs and you're like, now what do we do? Because
Right.
we've invested so much time in these
Yes.
children, right?
Yeah.
That we haven't invested anything in
Right.
each other. And
Yes.
so
Right.
that's kind of what this whole idea is like, no, we can do this every day. It's the most
Yes.
important thing in order to keep it alive. And
Mhm.
we always joke around. Um, we always say the first 10 years of our marriage, oh my God, if we would have had premarital counseling, or we would have had the whole concept of over dating, we would have been doing great, because we're far from a perfect couple. That's the first
Yeah.
thing I tell people all the time. I'm not going to preach to you something that I'm not doing or struggles that we haven't been through. It's just a matter
Right.
of we've learned to do some things and put some good practices in this whole concept of over dating that really keeps our relationship alive now.
And I think that's important what you said, like you put in the work. And anything worth having, the saying goes, anything worth having really requires work. And I think that people
Mm-hmm.
have to realize the commitment, first of all, when you get into a marriage, right? There's a commitment. When you say I do, you should be prepared to say I do forever, right? And so what we're
Mm-hmm.
finding out of is that a lot of people start out with the I do, and time things start going wrong, it's I don't anymore. I don't know what I've gotten into. I don't like this. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
but if you go into it with the idea that it's not going to be perfect, and it does take work. I mean, my husband and I have been married for 20 years. We were together for 6 years, even prior to.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you for us being. I don't know what took him so long. We were together for 6 years before we finally got married. But there were things that we knew, like building. So we did the opposite. You guys were like, "Hey, we're gonna go ahead on and make this thing happen," but we kind of drug it out for a little while. But I think that helped us too in terms of our preparation, right? Just trying to make sure
Mhm.
that we were right where we needed to be. Like we both had goals, and we know what we wanted to already have accomplished coming into that marriage. But
Mhm.
it's still like we still have goals, because this is a part of just like, we got to have goals. So we're not just living for this moment and just for the day, but we have goals because we really
Mhm.
want our marriage to go beyond. We want to do another 20 plus years, right, together. My
That's
parents
right.
have been. Oh, and longevity is something. My parents have been married for a total of, oh my gosh, I can't even remember, but it's like 60 some years. That they've been
Wow,
together.
that's amazing.
Yes, and so I've seen it, and even out of all that time
Mhm.
of just seeing and knowing my parents and watching their marriage mature over the years, because that's what is what it has done. But it was never like an easy feat. I mean, they've still had to,
Mhm.
there were a lot of things along each level of their life that they had to, adjust to. But because they said I do, with the intent of being married forever, so they were willing to
Mhm.
do that. But we don't see a lot of that anymore. Couples really struggle
No.
because to be honest with you, here we live in a world where there's a lot of sense of entitlement, and definitely a lot
Mhm.
of self-centeredness. It's all about me, me, me.
Mhm.
And when you're in a marriage, it's
Yes.
not. It's you've come together as two individuals, but according to the Bible, we unite and become one. But it's more
Mhm.
about the us as a the togetherness, the cohesiveness, and not about
Mhm.
separation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's right. And the story you talk about your mom and your dad, and we've all seen that couple. There's a part in the book where I talk about how people doubt that they can keep that love alive, and I
Yeah.
kind of correct that notion or that misnomer. You see that older couple walking down the street, and they're 60, 70 years old, and they're holding hands, right? And you're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, right? They're the cutest thing. People always say, right? And oh my God, I want to be like that. So there are couples, there are people that have done it, and like you said, it takes hard work. And I do have a chapter in the book called Lessons from Loved Ones.
Ah.
And that's why, when you talk about, your parents being
Mm-hmm.
kind of a compass, like they're kind of a true north for, I
Yes.
always use that
Yeah.
metaphor in that metaphor in therapy, our parents are this true north compass, but,
Mm-hmm.
and the lessons that we can learn and that we can glean from people right in our vicinity,
Yeah.
that are having intact relationships, that are having good relationships, you can interview them and say, hey, how do you
Yeah.
do it? And that's my whole thing, is like constantly learning, right? How to do better relationships, and people that are constantly learning and trying to improve, especially in the area of relationships, or in their marriage, they're gonna do well, because it takes work, like you said, hard
Yes,
work.
exactly. Yes, yes. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I like the fact that, you mentioned that we do see that a lot of times. And you mentioned about touch. And to me, that if people could just get like the value of touch, right? What it means to that, to touch. There's just something about, and when I'm talking of touch, I mean, of course, positive touches, right? It helps foster that intimacy, right? And
Hmm.
so that's very important too. The holding of hands, the cuddling, that kind of thing. So, what turned us on in the beginning, because what happens, after a while, like Dan, you've been married to your wife for 30 years. I've been with Reginald, married for 20 years. And so just um you have to do stuff so that it doesn't get stale and that it doesn't get old, right? Because what happens sometimes is we
Hmm.
become too comfortable, right? And we start to take, and
Hmm.
when you become too comfortable, you start to take your partner for granted. And
That's
so
right.
that creates a problem, in itself. You forget to tell, your husband how good he looks or how good she smells, or you like
Hmm.
when, he
Hmm.
wears, or, she wears whatever, so, complimenting, right? The
Hmm.
intimacy starts outside of the bedroom. So it's not just in the
That's right.
bedroom where intimacy actually takes place. And so I think that that's a
Hmm.
whole lesson, a whole workshop. How's a whole workshop, Daniel? I think we could do together, right? To help people
Yes,
understand,
yes,
like,
yes.
intimacy and what it actually means, because I think people really don't have an understanding of what intimacy is. They just automatically assume that intimacy means sex, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
there's,
That's right.
there's,
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you know what you're talking about, SherVonne, as far as meeting your partner where they're at, and their needs. There's been a lot of books, famous books, right? The Five Love Languages and things like that, right? That have
yes,
been
yeah.
written, that are amazing. I wrote in chapter 2, the title of the chapter is called Attention, Approval, and Support. And
Mm,
what I mirrored that off of was kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Remember the
mhm.
pyramid with self-actualization at the top? So I kind of like put it all together, like basically we all need attention, approval, and support. And so
Yes.
one of the assignments that I'll often have couples do is like, I want you to actually ask Reginald what he needs in the area of attention, approval, and support, or
I
what does
love
Patty need, my wife Patty, in that area of attention, approval, and support. And then practice one of those things every single day,
it.
because this is really, now it's right, scripture says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And you
Yes.
mentioned SherVonne, it's like we're self-centered, like we want to
Hmm.
receive, we want to receive, we want to receive, and we take our partner for granted. But if
Right.
we're practicing, how can I give my partner my attention, approval, and support, and then meet them where they're at? And that, like you said, that's not just sexuality, that is just complimenting, that is just building up their self-worth and their self-esteem. And
Yes.
that really helps us thrive as individuals. We need that to grow, you know.
Oh, for
We
sure.
definitely
Oh,
need that to grow.
yes. I love it. So before we actually get like close to, I cannot see. Oh my gosh. This is like a real issue that I'm having.
24 minutes there.
Oh, yes, I'm like, I can't see
Yeah.
if that's a 6 or a 4. Oh my goodness. I'm like going to the optician. Like, I'm thinking like, I know that I'm getting like, growing gracefully, but I'm like, man, not that
Yeah.
much. I'm like, I can't see. So wow. But yes.
I'm right
So
there with
listen,
you. I'm right there with you.
I'm like, wait, what is happening? Not right here on, like not right here on the TV show, like I'm following a part right here. But Daniel, listen, I want you to tell
Yeah,
the viewers before we even, get too far into this conversation, since we have 24 minutes,
sure,
how can they actually
sure.
get your book?
Right now, it is available. The best way is Amazon. So it's on Amazon right now, and you can get it in hardback, not hardback. What's the other? I can't even think right now. Softback.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon, and it's also on an ebook on Amazon. It's also on Google Play. It's on all the major platforms right now, so they can get it there. And then if you go to, I just put up a website, overdate.org. You can get the download there, the ebook. You can't get the hardback there, so you'll have to get that on Amazon. Yeah. But
Okay.
overdate.org, and hopefully in the future I'll be building up that website, and it'll be have a lot more resources than it does right now. Right now the ebook is available through there.
Yes. And so go ahead on and share with the listeners, like how, with the viewers, how they would be able to connect with you, Daniel.
Same way, you can go to overdate.org, and there's an email link there where they can just click on that email link and reach out to me there. I'm also too on Psychology Today. I'm sure yourself is on there. So if you want to
Yes.
search me as far as therapy wise, I can be reached on Psychology Today. Just search Daniel Kinoshita. But basically, www.overdate.org, and there's an email access to me there as well.
Good. Awesome. 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 I just love it. I mean, I just think that there's just so much in that book. I mean, just talking about. So, Daniel, do you have like the book right in front of you?
I do have the book in front of me.
Okay. Yeah. And so do you want to point out like some of the chapters that you have, just like some of the headings, if that's what you want
Yeah.
to do? Yeah.
Yeah, I can do. What's our time frame here? I see we're at
We
26
we have
minutes.
20, so we have about 3 minutes.
Okay, we got about 3 minutes. Okay, so let me go you real quick here. Chapter 1 is just the overdate. It's called Overdate: The Art of Overdating, where I kind of give a broad overview of how the concept came about, a definition of overdate, a little bit about my wife and I's story. And then in chapter 2, it's called Attention, Approval, and Support, that I just mentioned, and that is, we all need attention, approval, and support. And how can we implement that in our daily activities with our significant other, with our spouse? Chapter 3 is called The Should Factor, and that came from, I don't know if the should factor. Anthony Robbins, I don't know if he used to say, like, I should, don't say you should do this, you should get a new job, you should get an education. People just should all over themselves. So it's called The Should Factor. So don't say, like, I should take my spouse on a date, or I should, fall more in love, but just do it. That's the should factor,
Yes.
chapter 3. Chapter 4 is I just text to say I love you. It just talks about simple things that we can do using multimedia. Chapter 5 is don't give to get. It's not all about you, and just give. Don't just give to get something back. It really talks about reciprocity in there. Chapter 6, we mentioned earlier, lessons from loved ones. A lot of ideas that we can get about dating and just having a successful relationship is right in our backyard. Chapter 7, we don't have money. You've heard that before from many of your clients.
Yes.
Right? We don't have enough money, right?
We don't
I
have
can't
money.
go take my spouse somewhere. No.
Yes.
So I talk about this. Yeah, I talk about the $6 Starbucks date. And then chapter 8 is life is like a vapor, just talking about how life is so short. We don't know if our significant other, our spouse, is going to be there tomorrow. So take every day, it's a gift. And then chapter 10 is check in, check out. This talks about a weekly check-in, pretty simple exercise just to see how we're doing as a couple. And then chapter 10 is our final destination, talks about having a vision for the rest of your relationship.
I love it.
And that's pretty much it. Sorry.
I love it. I love it. Look, I think that every
and it's
I feel like every marriage and family therapist should have a copy of Overdate in their office. So I definitely need a hard copy to have in my office. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes.
I did send you, I don't know if you saw it. I sent you the ebook. So
I do. I had the ebook, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get it open. So I don't know. I was going to try it Yeah, I have my daughter to try it from because
Okay.
I'm technologically challenged here. Well, so let's just go ahead on and wrap up because we have like just
Okay.
a few seconds. So guys, you've heard it right here. Go get the book.
Okay.
Amazon.com is the best way to get the book Overdate by Daniel Kinoshita. You will not be disappointed. It will help you keep your love life on track with your significant other. So go now, go now, go now and get the book. That is all of our time. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on to Wow Wish Only Well TV show. As always,
Th-
I'm grateful to share the platform with the fellow marriage and family therapists, guys. So listen, that's all of our time. So we will say good night to you or good day wherever you are in the world, people. Just enjoy, and we will see you next week. Hey, oh guys, and listen, Daniel will be on tomorrow, Bust a Move radio show with Pam Reese. So make sure you check him out there for more on Overdate. That's all of our time, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.